Now, in this video, what we're going to do is we're going to use our completing the square technique that we went over, and we are going to initially do just the completing the square, and then we're going to use that to solve an equation. Okay, and it's a slightly more involved one, but it's definitely something you can do. So for completing the square, remember our technique for completing the square is to get this so that it's something that I can factor to, you know, y plus something squared or y minus something squared, right? I didn't mean to write 1 there, y minus something, right? So in order to do that, I got to find this term. And then I got to write it out here to be able to do that. So the way we find that term, if you remember, our first step is you take b, all right? So we're going to take b and divide by 2, all right? That's our first step, take b and divide by 2. Well, my b is 12, so we're going to go 12, positive 12. We divide by 2, and that gives me positive 6, all right? So that's your first step, and then your second step is to square that. All right, square that. So you're going to go positive 6, and you're going to square it, and that's going to give you 36. And then the third step is you will add it to your equation, and if you're adding it to an equation, that's actually an equation and not an expression, right? You will add it to both sides, right? So for this first problem, they just want to know what is that thing you're adding. So you would go y squared plus 12y equals, or plus 36. And that you have completed the square because this factors to y plus 6 squared. Okay, remember it's always your variable, it's the sign here, okay, and then it's whatever the square root of this is, or you can think of it as it's the variable and then it's your result from here, right, plus 6, and then you just got to square that, and that's how you get your y plus 6 squared. All right, now it says we're going to use our answer from part A to solve the equation by completing the square. At first you may be thinking, what are they talking about? This looks nothing like this. But what we're going to do first, okay, what we're going to do first is we're going to look at this and hopefully recognize that, hey, I can factor a -2 out of this whole thing. Now, the reason you want to factor a -2 out of this is because whenever you complete the square, all right, and this is huge, your a has to equal 1. This is a must. You cannot complete the square without the a equaling 1. So in order to get the a equal to 1, I got to get rid of this coefficient. So I'm going to go -2, -2, and you do that by dividing everything by whatever the coefficient is, right? And I got to include that negative because otherwise I'll have -1 for my a, and that won't work either, right? It's got to be positive 1. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, all right? So -2 divided by -2 is 1. That's what we want. We get y squared. -24 divided by -2 is positive 12y. 12 divided by -2 is -6, and then -14 divided by -2 is -7. Or no, sorry, it's positive 7. What am I talking about? Right, 7. So I can work with this. Now, the next step is you always move C over, right? So we're going to move this over here because we're going to complete the square to figure out what this should be, all right? So move that over, and it's going to give you y squared plus 12y. To move it over, we just do the opposite. We add 6 to both sides, and that gives us 13. Okay, let me give myself a little more room here. Equals 13. Okay, and now we're going to complete the square, right? Well, we completed the square already using 12, right? We went through this whole thing and we determined that this is 36. So we're going to go plus 36. And remember what I said, when you're adding it to the equation, you got to add it to both sides. So if I add it here, I have to add it here It's a balanced equation. You're going to throw the equation out of balance if you do that, right? And we don't want to do that. Okay. And so now let's let this rip. Okay. So we are going to get y plus 6 squared because it factors to that, and I know that because I did it already. Okay. Equals the square root of whatever this is added together, which is 49. All right. And so now your square root property, right? So sorry, I should write that. Square root property, we'll do this. So we're going to get y plus 6 equals my positive and negative case of whatever this is simplified, which is 7. 7 times 7 is 49. And so I have y plus 6 equals 7, and I have y plus 6 equals negative 7. Sorry, that looks like G, right? Subtract 6 from both sides, and this gives us negative 13 and 1. Okay, so yeah, that's how this works, right? You get your solutions, y equals 1 and negative 13. Put a big box around it, wrap a ribbon on it, put a bow on it, whatever you want to do, okay? And you're finished. So it all stems from knowing how to use the square root property, knowing how to do the completing the square using this technique right over here, and then just being able to do some simple one-step, in this case, one-step algebraic equations. Alrighty, so we will see you in the last video.